All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Lou Bollinger, Development and Neighborhood Services Division Manager for Town of Erie Parks and Recreation, here with episode 4 of Neighborhood Navigators. Hopefully, everybody has shoveled their way out of the most recent storm, and hope you all are keeping warm, ready for a great weekend. Hopefully, you can visit Erie Community Park to go sledding or one of the other great, fantastic, wonderful neighborhood parks that we have here in Erie to go enjoy the snow outdoors with your family. We have a couple of special guests today here, which I'll introduce in just a second. But just a reminder that the Erie Neighborhood Improvement Program applications, you only have a couple weeks to get those in. So hopefully you've been working with your homeowners association boards and presidents and secretaries to work on those projects. We're really looking forward to year 2 of the Erie Neighborhood Improvement Program and seeing those projects come to fruition. So today we're going to talk about affordable housing. We're not really talking about an HOA issue, though. If you do have questions about snow removal responsibility in your neighborhood, I would encourage you to go to erieco.gov and just type in snow. There we have maps and responsibilities, town park and facility snow removal policies, everything you can know or desire to know about snow removal in Erie. We have that information at erieco.gov. So we have a special, like I said, a couple special guests here today. We have MJ Adams. MJ, welcome. You want to introduce
Thank you.
yourself?
Sure. I'm MJ Adams. I'm the Affordable Housing Manager for the town of Erie. I joined the staff last spring, and happy to be here working on the town's goals of doing something about affordable housing for the community.
Awesome. Thanks, MJ. And we also have another special guest, Eric. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Leverage. I'm the housing management analyst for the town of Erie. I've been on staff since almost 6 months, since October, and just really supporting MJ and the rest of the planning division on addressing housing affordability in the community.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it, guys. I think not everybody really understands affordable housing and what it means for people who already live here and people who maybe want to live here. So Eric, I think I want to direct this question towards you. Why has the town created an affordable housing division?
Sure. So the town leadership has really prioritized affordable housing in recent years. As we know, we've seen rising costs and rapid growth, both in Erie itself, but across the region as well. There's a number of different factors that play into this. We've got high construction costs. They kind of skyrocketed during the pandemic and haven't really quite stabilized yet. We have higher interest rates these days. We've got a situation where here in Erie, we've seen in recent over the last couple of years, house prices actually going down, but the income level required to afford those houses actually increasing slightly because of the high interest rates. Other factors include high development fees at the outset of a development, as well as land costs. This is a desirable place to live. We all know that. That's why we live here. But that also contributes to high cost of land, which can contribute to high cost of housing down the line. The other issue is rapid growth. In Erie itself, we've seen an almost 400% population increase since 2000, and we know that that's going to continue. We anticipate almost a population of almost 60,000 by 2045, and so we understand that growth is coming, and we just want I think the town wants to make sure that as the growth is occurring, that it's happening in a way that's continuing to meet the needs of our residents and of our community. The town has joined the Boulder County Regional Housing Partnership and committed to their goal of 12% affordable housing units by 2035. This is a very ambitious goal, but we're committed to doing everything we can to help realize that. And we're really trying to collaborate as much as possible on a regional level with the partnership. We're working on creating a regional data dashboard to really conceptualize what housing needs look like throughout the county, and as well as collaborating on certain policy or process issues like permitting, the permitting process. We're trying to seek to collaborate to make sure that we've got consistency and alignment across the region, even where things are a little bit. We understand that Erie is not Boulder and Erie is not Longmont, and so we want to make sure that our processes are aligned across the region, but still accounting for the different needs of our respective communities. The town also released its first housing needs assessment in 2023. This is really just a comprehensive study of what the housing inventory looks like, and what needs might be clear after having that sort of analysis and examination. We really found through that report that Erie's development has focused on single family owner occupied homes, and that we just need a little bit more diversity in our housing inventory in order to ensure that the community's needs are met and that folks that work in Erie can live here and folks that live here can stay here.
Great. Thanks for that explanation. I think there's a question that we get a lot and we see a lot, in various channels is, what does affordable mean when it comes to housing?
Sure. We usually use a particular metric called cost burden, which is the idea that if you're spending 30% or more of your gross monthly income on housing, that it's not affordable to you, and that you are quote unquote cost burdened. There's also, if you're a certain measure that if you're spending more than 50%, you're severely cost burdened. But really, it comes down to how much folks should be spending on their housing to ensure that they've got enough money to pay for all the other necessities in life. Because if you're spending more than 30% on your housing, that means that you've got less money to spend on medical expenses, school supplies, on down the line, the things that you need to really have a comfortable existence. And in Erie, cost burden is probably a bigger issue than folks might realize. 47.6% of renters in Erie, based on our latest numbers, are cost burden. So that's almost 1 out of every 2 renter households that is paying more than they should for housing. And 20% of owners, 20.2% of owners are also cost burdened, about 1 in 5. It's a little bit different when you're talking about home ownership, because obviously you're gaining equity and you're building some wealth in that process. So the cost burden on the ownership side is maybe not as stark an issue, but with almost half of the renters in Erie being cost burdened, it's clear that we need to take some steps to increase affordability.
So you brought up that term affordability. Let's just ask the questions. What are the misconceptions out there about affordable housing?
Well, I think a lot of people, and I've certainly had this in my head at certain times in my life, that a lot of people think of those housing projects of the late 60s and 70s, Cabrini Green in Chicago, and those kinds of places where there's very high density and very low quality apartment buildings. Traditionally, this was a situation where you had very low income households with very few resources who are concentrated in these developments. And that's really impacted the way that people understand the issue of affordable housing and who benefits from affordable housing developments. But the modern reality is really different. Our modern affordable housing developments can provide a diverse set of housing types. It's not just multifamily apartment buildings, but also townhomes and even traditional single family homes that are affordable to households at a number of different income levels. So the town's goal really in pursuing affordable housing developments and policies is to ensure that the housing inventory meets the needs of our workforce, whether you're a service worker, you're a barista at Fox Dog, or a teacher at Erie Elementary. Want to make sure that you are contributing to our community and to our economy, and we want to make sure that our housing inventory can meet the needs of all of those folks, so that they can live and work in the community where they work, and we can keep more of that money circulating in our local economy.
Sure, sure. Where are affordability needs the greatest in Erie?
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned the renter cost burden levels. Obviously, it's almost 1 and 2. We have a new analysis that we've done that we're adding to the housing needs assessment from last year, called a gap analysis, and we really found that the greatest need for rental housing is that households at very low or considerably lower income levels, 50% or less of what we call the area median income. This is just a number that's calculated every year to show what the median income for an area is. And so if you're at 50% AMI or below, that means you're making half in annual income of that number. And so that's where the greatest need is for on the rental side. This is really common in across the country, but it still makes it really difficult to attract and keep essential workers in our community. And part of the reason for that is when you're talking about affordable housing development and you're talking about trying to serve the needs of folks at these lower income levels, you're going to have what's called a financing gap because uh, the developer has certain costs at the outset. You're making less money on the back end if you're serving folks at lower income levels. So we've got to find ways to fill that gap. It can be filled at the front end by things like land donations and waiving certain fees, things like that. But at these lower rental income levels, generally you're going to have to find ways for developers to use different financing tools like the federal low income housing tax credit, uh, which is a very effective tool at trying to close that gap. But as you can tell by my explanation, it's a pretty complicated process. And so we understand that this is where the need is the greatest, and it's also where it's going to take the most amount of effort and creativity from the town to be sure to ensure that we're meeting the needs of residents at those income levels. On the home ownership side, we're really seeing a shortage of homes that are affordable up to slightly above the area median income, up to 120% of the area median income. So that really means that we're just sort of missing uh, those starter homes, for instance, those for, maybe folks who grew up in Erie, went off to college, have started to build a family and want to move back and put down roots. We don't have enough options on the market to really meet the needs of those folks. Similarly, we don't have that enough options for our elders who are, have lived here for many years, maybe want to downsize their home into a smaller home. That would generally be the kind of home that would be in that income level that we're seeing a shortage of. And so we really want to make sure that we're providing those kinds of options for those kinds of situations, because we understand that folks want to be able to come here and put down roots. And folks want to be able to stay here after they've put down roots, but maybe just have had a change in circumstances and need a different housing option. And as I said, this is, first and foremost, it's a community issue. It's about making sure that our residents can live in dignity and work where they live and so forth. But it's an economic issue as well. We want to have a strong local economy, and if folks that work here aren't able to live here, have to commute from another community, and then have an employment opportunity in that community, there's a good chance that they're going to take it. So we want to make sure that we're able to attract folks to our community and have them be able to live and work here and stay here for the long term.
That's great. And Erie it's such a wonderful place to live. And, I'm of course a little bit biased. I think we have a great park system, a great trail system, a great open space system. So yeah, we want people to come here and use those amenities and enjoy the Erie Community Center. So really appreciate what you guys and gals are doing over in planning and development and really trying to get some of these affordable housing options available to our residents. And with that, I guess I'll ask my final question is what projects are out there right now? What's kind of actively happening?
So we have one property that we've invested in. We use some of our federal funding from the pandemic relief funding to purchase this property that will be constructing 35 for sale affordable units. There'll be 20 townhomes and 15 single family homes at the Cheeseman property. It's at 765 Cheeseman Street, right there on Cheeseman and County Line, just south of Calvary Bible Church. And that's our first sort of foray into an actual development. We're very excited about it. We've got a great developer who's really found creative ways to create very desirable properties, and it's a great part of town where you can walk straight to Old Town, right across the street from the schools, and so we're excited about moving that project forward, and we're hoping to be able to move folks into those homes sometime in mid 2025, depending on any potential delays and so forth. We've also purchased another piece of property that we're examining how we can use it for housing and how we can use it for open space. The Page property, as you know, very excited about what that can look like. We're not sure exactly what the housing will look like on that property, but it's going to be a really, really cool space where we'll have a mixed use between the housing development and even more open space, which as you said, and as I'll echo, is one of the best parts about Erie, one of the best aspects of living here. And we're also we're really exploring other things that we can do to decrease costs for affordable housing development and increase the number of affordable units that are on the market. Both from a sort of policy perspective and like, as I mentioned, processes, whether it's permitting and other issues, anything that we can do to really expedite the development process and lower costs for developers so that they can pass that along to our residents in the form of more affordable housing.
Yeah, you guys have a big lift. One kind of final, if I'm a resident that I'm looking for information, say I have a friend who wants to move into Erie and wants more information about affordable housing, where would one go?
We have a housing resource page that we've created that has a number of different resources for folks, including things like if you're interested in moving here, but a down payment can often be an issue, for a hurdle for folks to get over. We've got links to down payment assistance programs, things like that. We've also got a web page for the Cheeseman development that I mentioned. If folks know anyone who might be interested in ultimately applying for one of those homes, then they can visit that website as well. Is there a chat that I can share links in, or maybe we can follow up with folks after?
Yeah, we'll follow up. We'll
Okay.
put a comment on our YouTube video here that we're going to post, and I'm going to just go to erieco.gov. Again, I mentioned that at the beginning. I think that's a great resource. Eric, thank you so much for the information. MJ, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Well, you guys have a heavy lift. Much appreciate all the information. Fantastic information. Again, erieco.gov. Just search affordable housing and find all the information, and we'll make sure we connect everybody with Eric and MJ. So thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Stay warm out there. Make sure you grab your shovels. Make sure you stretch before you shovel this heavy wet snow. Thanks. Have a great weekend. This is Luke Bollinger with Town of Erie Parks and Recreation signing off. Until next time. Thanks, everybody.